Hey everyone, welcome to the Summer Sundress Beginners Bliss, and today we're doing things a little different than normal. So I don't have my usual live going on because I had a conflict. I'm out of town, but I wanted to make sure we kept the same schedule and kept everything consistent. So I'm recorded today. But some of the benefits of following along on the recording are that you really can work at your own pace, which is kind of nice. So we're working on the little wood chip today, and we're going to use the colors magenta, which is actually the Decoart Royal Fuchsia. We are going to use white, and then we've got navy blue, and then we've got Calypso blue, and then we've got Bahama blue. So that's the palette we're working with. You do have a little cup of iridescent. I'm not using that for today, but if you want to coat your piece afterwards, it's kind of a nice fun effect. So we're also going to be using our drill bit set, and this was just a fun way to shake things up a little bit this month. Dotting does not have a lot of variety in the available tools that you can have, and so the fun thing about working with unusual tools is that you can find some things that work really well, and these are spaced, they're sized evenly as they go up, and so you can get some really good variations in size by using the end of your drill bit. So this month we're going to play a little bit with this. If it's not your thing, you can always get the closest size with your dotting tools, and that's fine as well. In addition to these drill bits, I've got my stylus tools out and may use those. We are going to be using our stencil that's got 12 arms. So those of you that are new this month, you should have a stencil that's got 8 arms and then a stencil that has 12 arms. So we're working with multiples of 6 today, and so we need the one with 12 arms. You will also need a paintbrush just to add a layer of the background color onto your wood chip. So that is the first step. If you hear some crunching, that is my puppy dog decided he's going to do dinner time as I'm recording. So that's what's going on. It's not me munching on chips or something. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is pull out our wood chip and then just use your paintbrush, and we are going to get a layer of the Bahama blue, which is the more aqua color. And so what I did, I used the lines in the wood rings to help me just make a circle that kind of matched my shape. So just pick one of those wood rings and follow it all the way around. And you'll notice that creating on wood is a little bit different. There's some texture that you have to work against when you're dotting, but also it's very absorbent. So just put a nice thick coat of your background color on there. And then because the wood is pretty absorbent, it shouldn't take too long before this dries. So go ahead and pause this right where we are, and you can either just give it a few minutes to dry on its own, or you can zap it with the heat gun or hair dryer, and then we'll move on to adding the stencil. All right, so it doesn't usually take too long. You can add a second coat of paint if you want to hide these lines, but honestly, we're working with the wood chip. There's going to be texture. That doesn't bother me. So I'm just going to go ahead and proceed just with my first layer. And what we're going to do is just place this stencil on here, and all of these pieces pretty much have a center that the wood chip has already defined for you. And so you can either use the chalk, or if you've got a water-soluble pencil, you can use that as well, and mark the lines on your wood chip. Both are great and will wash right off with a wet paper towel when you're finished. And these are just to give you some guidelines. And you don't have to use every marking if you don't want to. This is an easier design, and so you may choose just to do the lines to help keep you the rays evenly spaced, but it's your call whether you need all of them or not. All right, so here is our design. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the center dot. And our center dot is one of the most important because that's going to keep everything kind of centered and balanced. And so for our center dot, I am going to use the red drill bit and the fuchsia paint. And when you dip in your paint, remember for every dot that we're doing, you dip and dot. Okay, so we're not going to do multiples without re-dipping unless we are intending for those to get smaller. But for this one, remember every time you dip, you want to make sure there's plenty of paint on there. Go up over the edge. And just like you would use a dotting tool, you're going to gently kiss it down and it'll make a circle. And that is our first dot, our center dot. I'm just adding a little more paint to make this a nice clean dot there. And I'm going to wipe this one off and put it away. And then the next set of dots I am going to do with the navy. And I'm going to get out my smallest drill bit here. This is the one that does not have any paint on it. And when I dot with the drill bits, I should have said this with the large one, we're using the flat end, okay, not the drill bit end. And I am going to do navy blue, and we're going to put one dot at each of these rays here. So I like to start with my north, south, east, and west. That helps me keep things centered, and I'm going to come up right next to that pink dot in the center, and I'm going to do my north and south. And then I'll do my west and my east. And then unlike when we're working with multiples of 8, we put 2 dots in between each one of these. So they should kind of be in line with these marks that we made. And we will end up with 12 all together. All right, then we are going to go up in size to our green drill bit. And for that one, I am going to use the light blue paint. And the light blue is the Calypso blue. So there's two. There's like more of a teal or more of an aqua and then more of a true light blue. So I'm using the light blue in my smaller green drill bit. And then this line of dots, I'm going to put one of these in between each of these navy blue dots. So if you're using the rays as a guide, instead of being on the line, you would be in between the line. And so I'm going to do a row of these circles in between each line. And then I'm going to go up in size again. I'm going to use my smaller red drill bit and the Royal Fuchsia paint. And then I'm going to come through and we're going to do a slightly bigger dot. Again, this time it's going to go in between these light blue on the line. Next, I am going to switch to the blue stylus. First, I'm going to use the large end. We're going to use white paint. And on every other fuchsia dot, I'm not going to do every one, I'm going to do every other, I'm going to add a center dot right on the white line. So I'm going to do a dot, skip a line, do a dot, skip a line, a dot, skip a line. And don't forget to redip your paint every time you make a dot. So we're going to end up with 6 of those. Then once we get our center dot, I'm going to switch to the smaller end of the blue stylus, and I'm going to walk the dots down each side. Now walking the dots is when we do not redip, so we want these to get progressively smaller. And so I'll do this one up a little bit closer. And so I fit about 5 in there. Now I'm going to redip and move to the next white dot here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then move to the next white dot. And you see when I don't redip, these sizes get smaller as they go. I'm going to redo these ones I started with because I didn't have enough paint on there. But there we go. So we're going to have 6 of those. That's called walking the dots. If you have not tried walking the dots, there are some practice pages available in the guides that show you how to do that. But once you do it, it's fairly easy. You just continue to make dots without redipping. All right, so now that I've got those, I'm going to come around on the other side of each of those petals and do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then all the way around. And remember, just because I am able to get 5 dots in there does not mean you have to put 5. You could only have, 3, you could have 4. It just depends on the spacing. So it's okay if it's not exactly the same as mine. As long as you follow the pattern all the way around, it'll look fine. All right, for the next set of dots, I am going to use, I'm going to come over on the large side of the drill bits. I'm going to pull out the blue drill bit and the navy blue paint. And then we are going to add a dot in between the 2 petals. So we made a petal here with those white dots and a petal here with those white dots. So I'm going to put a dot here on this white line that doesn't have that petal with the navy blue paint and the large blue drill bit. And then I'm going to skip the line with the petal. And so it's every other line. And some of these, because of the chalk, are not perfect. And so don't be afraid to just get a really small stylus and kind of fix some of those dots if you need to. Sometimes when you use something waxy or chalky, you have to come in and fix it once in a while. So we're going to have a set of 6 of those navy blues. And then I'm going to pick up my green stylus, large end, and we're going to add petals on each one of these, just like we did for the magenta. So we're going up a level. Right here, we're going to add those white dots around the sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the large end, and I'm going to add 1 white dot at the top of every one of my navy dots. So we get 6 of those. Then I'm going to switch to the small end of my green stylus, and I'm going to walk the dots down the side. So I'm just going to start with 1 petal, walk the dots, and I'm just going to count them, and then I'm going to repeat however many I fit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can fit 5 again. So I'm just going to go around with 5 on each one. And then when you get all the way around, then come back through and do the other side of the petal. And so I did 5 on one side, so I'm gonna do 5 on the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just go all the way around and complete the petals. All right, next we are going to use our small red drill bit. I'm sorry, the small green drill bit, and our light blue paint. And above each petal, I'm going to add a blue, light blue dot. So we're going to do 6 of those. So that was the small green drill bit. We added 1 light blue dot. And then I'm going to use the green stylus, the large end, and we're going to add some swoops. And so to do a swoop, for those of you who are new to this, we use swoops sometimes in our designs. And so those are just like these little things up here. And in order to do that, you are going to get some paint on your stylus just like you normally would. You want to pass the ball. You're going to touch it down onto the paper just like you're writing with a pen or a pencil, and then just pull. And if you've never done this before, you may want to pull a few just to see what it feels like, but it will naturally run out of paint for you. So I can continue going, and you see it ran out of paint at that point, and I've got a nice swipe on there. And so I call the straight ones swipes, I call the curvy ones swoops, and so we're going to add a few swoops on here. And so you can practice that till you kind of get it down. And so I've got this blue dot, and I know this is a little harder to see on camera because these look very similar on camera. But what I'm going to do is on each side, I'm going to add a swoop that follows the shape of that petal. So here's my blue dot, 1 on the left, dip into the paint, 1 on the right. Next one, 1 on the left, re-dip into the paint, 1 on the right. And we're going to follow those all the way around, so 6 sets of those. All right, next we're going to do some top dots. In order to do top dots, you want your paint to be pretty dry. My inside layers are pretty dry here. So what I did was for the top dots, I used my green stylus for white dots on top of my fuchsia dots. And what I encourage you to do, you can do whatever type of top dots you want. So if you don't want to use white, you don't have to. But I'm going to use white because that's the pattern that I did here. And so with my small green drill bit, I'm going to just add a little white dot in there. If you don't want to use the drill bit, you can always use the green stylus on the large or small end if you want to vary up the size. I really like people to kind of shake things up with top dots in their own way. It's an easy way to follow the same pattern but kind of change it and make it your own. And usually I do top dots absolutely last, but for this pattern, for whatever reason, I was feeling it. So I went ahead and did it. The one in the middle, I used the red drill bit for, the small red drill bit. And again, I used white paint. And you just add a dot right on top. And then just to show you it works in a similar way using the stylus, I'm going to use my green stylus, the large end, for these navy ones. And again, remember your paint needs to be pretty dry for you to do top dots, but mine is fairly dry. That wood is kind of sucking in a lot of that moisture, so there you go. And then what I did for the last step is I added the dots around the edge. And so you really could start, you know, at the top and evenly space them. Honestly, I just used my stylus here. You can make them larger. So for example, this wood chip is a little bit bigger than this one. So I could probably go up a size if I wanted to use the drill bits. If you want to keep it small, you could go down a size, but I'm just going to use the green stylus and the fuchsia paint, and I'm just going to add dots, and I'm just going to kind of use my judgment and try to keep them evenly spaced around the edge. And remember to keep them all the same size. You have to re-dip each and every time. All right, so that is how to create the beginner's bliss for the summer sundress. And this one here, I just added a little top coat, which you can do if you want to. You can use the iridescent or you can leave it as is. And then if you want to, you can add a little string and use it as an ornament, or you can use it, you know, flat as a coaster or whatever other creative idea you have to use this. I would absolutely love it, love it, love it if you would consider sharing your piece in the group. I know sometimes it's hard to remember to post, but we all love to see what everybody is up to. And then next week we will be back to going live. So next week the live will be this heart. So we will have a Zoom link that gets posted in the group, and we're going to create this fun heart design. Remember, in your box you have this sand dollar that you can play with, and you can dot any which way you would like. This is just kind of an extra bonus piece. So you can meet me live. Next week is, what is the date? July 22nd. I will be live on Zoom at 6:30 Eastern. So next Monday, come on here in the group on Facebook, and the link will be right here for you, and we'll work live. If you're not able to make it live, that is absolutely fine. It'll be recorded and posted in the group just like this one. So thank you so much for joining tonight, and sorry I could not be here live with you. It feels kind of funny. This is the first time I've missed. So I miss you guys. I can't wait to see your ornaments, and I will see you next week, everyone.